What is up, guys? MJPB back again, once again, for, you guessed it, it's that time again. We have just finished our Pokemon Sapphire Hardcore Generation Lock installment. So, we are going to be doing a tier list of the Hoenn Nuzlocke usability. So not just in the Hoenn region, but across multiple games and things like that. We have factors like their availability in Pokemon games, how easy they are to encounter, their movesets, their ability, and then also their resistances and weaknesses, things like that. So like how defensive, offensive they are, etc. As always, we have MVPs at the top, mainstays, fillers, backups, and sacks. And yeah, we'll go in with the order. Let me just make sure that I'm getting all of them in the right place. So yeah, Sceptile is going to be a mainstay. Yeah, it's okay. Obviously, you can only get it in the Hoenn games, but it is a 100% encounter if you choose to go with Sceptile. And yeah, it does have access to healing moves such as Giga Drain, so that's always useful. And yeah, the abilities like Overgrow and things like that are always quite nice. But yeah, defensively not very good. So it's going to stay there. Blaziken, I think for me, probably slightly higher. Has access to U-turn, which is really, really good for hardcore Nuzlockes because it allows you to switch in and out relatively freely without taking damage. So that's always nice as well. So that alone, and the fact that it has more resistances and weaknesses, probably puts it above Sceptile. Swampert, however, is our first MVP of Hoenn. Very, very good mon. Has an immunity, very good defensively, very good offensively as well. And now in Generation 8, it has access to Flip Turn as well, so it also has the ability to switch in and out. As well as potentially setting up things like Stealth Rock and things like that. So yeah, definitely an MVP of Hoenn for sure. MVPs being one of 6 Pokemon we like to narrow it down to sort of replicate a team that you could potentially use. Mightyena is going into filler. Not quite mainstay. You could make the case for it because it's got quite a nice diverse move pool, has access to status moves and things like that, utility as well, like Torment, those are always quite nice. And obviously has the Psychic immunity, which can be quite good. Immunities are huge in hardcore Nuzlocke because it allows you to pivot really easily. Stats wise, it just doesn't come up, but obviously it does have Intimidate, which is arguably one of the best abilities for hardcore Nuzlocke. Linoon is going to be a backup, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it is. Yeah, just doesn't really do too much. So obviously it has like a ghost immunity, has really high speed, but stats wise it's just not very good. Ability wise, not very good. Has a really good moveset, but just doesn't have the equipment to back it up. Beautifly is going to be a filler. Going to join Mightyena in that sense. It's a little bit worse, but it does have access to things like U-turn, Morning Sun, I think, which is healing, which is always nice. Giga Drain. So yeah, the moveset really helps to boost that, and obviously another immunity in ground. So yeah. Dustox is actually going to creep ahead of Blaziken and Sceptile. Defensively, it's a very, very good mon for you to use, especially early game in Hoenn. It's very, very good. Has Tinted Lens or Shield Dust, one of the two, I think. Oh no, it has Shield Dust or Compound Eye's hidden ability, I think. So yeah, it's a bit like your Butterfree or your Venomoth, and as we know from Fire Red as well, and obviously in our Sapphire we use Dustox quite a lot. So yeah, very, very good. It's not in too many games, which probably lacks it down a little bit, as with Blaziken and Sceptile. Yeah, very, very good. Has access to U-turn, healing, status, utility. So yeah, very, very good mon. Ludicolo is sadly going to be joining my friend Linoon in backups. Obviously in the grass lock is very good. You can use it to combat the fire types that you might take up in the grass lock, but if you're not doing a grass lock, it doesn't really have anything going for it. It's decently defensive, but yeah, just isn't really there. Shiftry is actually going to be our first sack. Yeah, just isn't very good. Doesn't get good moves really. Can heal, but yeah, you have a psychic immunity, but with 7 weaknesses, you're not really gonna want to do that anyway. Swellow is going to sneak just in front of my Tiana. Obviously, Guts is a huge ability if you can condition it before fights, and obviously 2 immunities in Ghost and Ground, which is really, really good. Moveset could probably be improved a little bit, but obviously has access to U-turn and Roost and things like that, so that's really, really good. Pelipper is actually very underrated Nuzlocke mon. Gets access to a lot of things. Could probably do with a little bit more diversity in terms of coverage, but apart from that, it's very, very good. You can get Drizzle Pelipper as well, which can be very good. Flip Turn in Gen 8 onwards, I believe. And yeah, Roost, things like that. So ground immunity as well, and stats are pretty decent and a very good weakness to resistance ratio as well. Gardevoir is going to slot in just ahead of Blaziken. You get it in a couple more games, and obviously with a fairy type in now as well, it's a very good mon to pick up. Yeah, dragon immunity is amazing. Usually late game there's a lot of dragon type trainers and Elite 4 bosses and things like that, so yeah, a lot of fairy types are obviously going to be buffed. From that, Masquerain is actually going to join Gardevoir, but just ahead, just below. Obviously has Intimidate, isn't too easily encounterable, but again is in a decent amount of games, access to U-turn and healing as well. And yeah, ground immunity, has a bit too many weaknesses for some people's liking, which is why it probably isn't to the level of Dustox. But yeah, Intimidate does wonders with Masquerain. Breloom is only going to be behind Mightyena. You can only get it in Hoenn currently. You're not guaranteed to get it. Has amazing attack stat, but everywhere else it just sort of falls down. Obviously, access to Drain Punch is really, really good, but yeah. In terms of hardcore Nuzlocke benefits, there isn't too much. Breloom, I love Breloom, but yeah, isn't, when you put it against other Pokemon, it's just not necessarily as good. Slacking is going to go just ahead of Sceptile, I think. Rate the same. Obviously, being a normal type has a very, very diverse move pool. The only downside is Truant, but if you can play around that and if you know how to do that, then that can be very, very good. And yeah, obviously Ghost Immunity, really good physically, and has 100 speed as well, so it's actually not even that bad. Ninjask, I think because you can give it U-turn, I'm going to put it ahead of both of these guys, and obviously you do have the ground immunity, and it's super quick as well, so you can pop off quick U-turns, which can be very, very good in hardcore Nuzlockes. So potentially might move Ninjask up. We'll see about that one. But obviously, as we go past Ninjask to Shedinja, who's going to be our next MVP, probably no surprises there. Wonder Guard is absolutely amazing. Gives it a total of 13 immunities, which is an absolute joke. Can't really do anything offensively, but if you get the right moves on it, you can start prepping and things like that. Yeah, so absolutely amazing Pokemon. Can pretty much wall like 60 to 70% of most Pokemon that you're gonna face. So yeah, just make sure you have different moves on it that aren't just normal, and you'll be alright. Right, okay, Exploud, not much to say. Is probably going to be in backups towards the end. Definitely be picking Lion over Exploud. Doesn't really do anything. There isn't too much to say about it really. Just has a very diverse move pool. Goes to Mini, but apart from that, doesn't really do anything. So yeah. Hariyama is probably going to go towards the back of fillers. Obviously, you can fire off powerful fake outs. But yeah, apart from that, doesn't really have too much going for it. Obviously has Guts, which is a very, very good ability if you can precondition it like Swellow. But Swellow has a little bit more usability in the fact that it's a flying type, and I feel like flying types are probably, and if you give it Facade as well, then you can pretty much run at anything that isn't, doesn't resist normal. Nose Pass is actually okay. It's not horrendous. Probably put it here as a backup. You can get it in most games. Probably just needs a bit more diversity. I think it can get Volt Switch, which is really nice. But yeah, not too much going for it otherwise. Has decent defense though. So yeah, you can pretty much send it in and it'll just take hits. Delcatty is unfortunately going right to the bottom. Yeah, I don't think I need to say too much about Delcatty. Sableye, again, is one of my favourite Pokemon, like Breloom, but doesn't really have too much going for it in that sense. It is in a fair amount of games. You can get it reasonably easily in a lot of games if you encounter Manip. Has quite a diverse move pool as well as status and utility, and obviously the 3 immunities is massive. So I think because of the 3 immunities, it's going to go ahead of Breloom, for me anyway. Potentially ahead of Mightyena as well. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be obviously if you could have Prankster Sableye every single time, then probably would be a mainstay. But obviously that's hidden ability, so you're not going to get that in a regular run of it anyway. Marwal is actually a mainstay. Fairy type has definitely brought this up. But yeah, it's super good. I think it gets Baton Pass, which allows you to swap out. So if you can set up on this thing and then swap it out, then you're laughing. It's just really good defensively as well. So I think what I'm actually going to do is put it. I can't put it ahead of Slacking. I'll put it ahead of Sceptile. Agron is also a very good mon. Definitely a mainstay defensively, very solid. Yeah, mostly on the physical side, but with the amount of resistances it has, it's just very good anyway. Can hit very hard as well. Could probably just do with some sort of some yeah, it could probably just do with some more moves that aren't just physical attacking moves. But yeah, apart from that, Agron, really good. Probably ahead of Dustox, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Metacham. Again, tricky situation. Obviously, always has pure power, which is absolutely incredible. But the attack stats to start with just aren't really there. But obviously, Drain Punch is huge, right? And you can give it a lot of other things. But yeah, if you give it Drain Punch, give it some Elemental Punches. We actually used one during our Gym Leader rematches in Shining Pearl. And yeah, very good. Very good one. Manectric is probably around here. Maybe because of its switching ability, I'm going to put it ahead of Breloom. Because obviously you can get the Volt Switch, Thunder Wave, and things like that, which is quite nice. Could do with a better ability perhaps, but a bit more bulk as well potentially, but otherwise very good. Plusle, Minun, Volby, all gonna go into the sacks. Yeah, all in the same games. They do have access to switching, but stats-wise, they're just not really viable in any sort of way. Illumise does slightly better than them because of its ability, but yeah, still not too viable and definitely still in sacks, that's for sure. Rosalia actually does okay. Obviously, if you can get a Rose Raid, then absolutely get a Rose Raid. There's no reason not to, but let's say you're playing through Sapphire, Emerald, Ruby, whatever, something like that, yeah, before Gen 4, then yeah, 100% you want to be trying to, you can use a Rosalia on your team and it's perfectly fine, has Leech Seed and things like that, Giga Drain, which is always super good, and actually has more resistances than weaknesses, which is can be very uncommon for grass types especially. Swellow likewise. Swellow actually. Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, Rosalia is supposed to be down here. Leech Seeds. We'll do that. Swallow is actually quite a good mon as a backup. Used one briefly in the Y faction lock. Has decent moves. Is just very good defensively, and you can yawn things, swap out, and then come back in. So yeah, very good in that sort of sense. Sharpedo is sort of around this area. Yeah, obviously gets flip turn now that Gen 8's come around, which is quite nice. So has rough skin as well, which can come in very handy. Has good speed, to be fair. Psychic immunity, lots of resistances. Which doesn't really have the defense, so yeah, I'll put it just ahead of Metacham. This could be a surprise, but Wailord for me is a backup, and it's not even to the level of some of these mons for me personally. Obviously has huge amounts of HP, but its defenses are atrocious, and obviously you can give it rest, but you hit it with any sort of move and the HP is going to start falling quick. There's another water type later on, which is definitely a lot better to get. In fact, almost every single water type after Wailord would be better for you to get, most likely. Camerupt again, probably ahead of Wailord. That 4 times weakness to water absolutely kills it. Has good attack, and obviously has the electric immunity. Good resistances as well, but just needs a little bit more diversity in the move pool. A little bit more availability as well. But otherwise, I quite like Camerupts, but I do like Torkoal more. And Torkoal is actually going to come into fillers. Yeah, very, very good defensive mon. So I think for that reason, it's got to go above Breloom again. Grumpig. Ooh, okay. I think we're going to put it bottom of fillers. Yeah, has a lot of moves which are good, stats wise, utility wise, healing wise as well. It's pretty good on the special side, but yeah, again, physical moves just kind of decimate it. Spinder is going to the top of Sax. Has access to Drain Punch, I believe. But 60 across all the boards, so nothing special to talk about there. Flygon is actually our next MVP from Hoenn. He's found in almost every game since Hoenn was introduced. And yeah, quite a diverse moveset. Access to U-Turn, Roost, I believe, as well, which is super, super good. Potentially Drain Punch, which is even better. And yeah, obviously immunities to electric, but often has Levitate as well, which gives it a ground immunity as well, which is very, very nice. So yeah, that's our third MVP. Cacturn is kind of like Shiftry, but on the physical side, essentially. Altaria is a pretty good mon, to be fair. I'd say you probably use it around about here. Yeah, I mean, it's got good availability, access to Roost, obviously, like ground immunity, lots of resistances, defensively very, very sound as well. So yeah, definitely going to go into mainstays. Zangush is another Pokemon that I quite like, but it is just going to prop up the filler category even more. Yeah, the filler category seems to be where most of my favourite Hoenn Pokemon are going at the moment. Yeah, being an on-type, very diverse move pool. Access to things like Protect, Taunt, decent ability. So yeah. So Viper, on the other hand, is not as good, but it is a poison type, which is okay defensively. But yeah, we'll see. Lunatone and Solrock are kind of similar. Yeah, I mean, Lunatone and Solrock, not really too much to say about them. Definitely need more diversity in the move pool. Levitate obviously taken away one of its weaknesses as well, which is very nice. Making it an immunity instead. essentially Solrock is the physical version of Lunatone, and Lunatone is the special version of Solrock. But Solrock does have the ability to get some burns off with Will-O-Wisp and things like that, which is why it's slightly higher than Lunatone. Not by too much, but is definitely higher. Whiscash is actually mainstays. Probably not that high, but I'd say water ground types just absolutely run the show. It's in a lot of games, like Flygon. Could probably do with more move diversity again, but yeah, I mean, there isn't really much else to say. Defensively, a very good mon. You can do Whiscash sweeps if you wanted to, if you set it up the right way. So yeah, very, very easy mon to use. Crawdaunt is probably here. Pains me to say because obviously I love Corphish. Corphish is probably one of my favourite non-Final Evolution Pokemon. But yeah, apart from the Psychic immunity and having better weakness to ratio, weakness to resistance ratio, it just doesn't really do all that much. Claydol, on the other hand, is absolutely bueno. Yeah, 2 immunities due to levitate, so that's really nice. Very, very defensive mon. Super, super good. Cradley is going to go. Yeah, we'll go just behind his buddy Breloom. It's okay. You can often get a root fossil in the games where it's available. So it's not a bad encounter to get. Defensively, very, very good. Likewise, could do with a better ability, but hey, can't complain. Armaldo, on the other hand, is slightly better. I think Armaldo actually makes it to just below Whiscash, because obviously Armaldo has Battle Armor, I think, Battle Armor, Shell Armor, which prevents crits, which is very, very useful. Defensively, well, physically, just very, very good. A little bit slow, but obviously you can set up Stealth Rocks and things like that as well. So that's quite nice. Then we have Milotic, which some you might have thought it might be a little bit lower down. But yeah, it's going to go. Ooh, I'm going to put it below all of these people because all of the Pokemon above Milotic right now in fillers are way easier to find in almost every single game. Milotic is a very, very unlikely encounter in any of your Nuzlocks unless you're doing a randomizer. Yeah, if it was more prominent, then absolutely it would be a mainstay, maybe even an MVP. Cast form, unfortunately, is not very good, but we kind of all knew that. Kecleon is surprisingly good. In fact, I'd probably say yeah, don't mind me. Just falling asleep right now. Where were we? What have I just put in? Kecleon. Yeah. Very diverse move pool. Ghost immunity, and actually very, very specially defensive, which I didn't really know at all. Gets Drain Punch, I'm pretty sure, as well. So it can stick around for quite a long time. Bayonet is one of those ones where being a ghost type is really, really useful. But it just doesn't have the move set to back it up. 2 weaknesses, 2 resists, 2 immunities is absolutely fantastic. Which is why Nuzlockes is also going to be a very good mon for us to see, which I'll actually put in now is our 4th MVP. I'd actually probably put it ahead of Shedinja as well. Nuzlockes is very, very good, especially if you get it Gen 5 and beyond, whack an Eviolite on it. That thing will probably almost never die, unless you get it massively crit. Yeah, super, super good. Defensively, a beast already. 130 in both. Nuzlockes, absolute tank of a Pokemon. Sadly, Psalm is also with Sombrero and Rosalia. Yeah, like a lot of grass types, it's pretty much just good stab and healing that it has access to. Obviously, we do have a ground immunity, which means I'll probably put it ahead of Ludicolo and Rosalia. Chimecho is around a similar level. Probably say Chimecho is, to be fair, it is a psychic type. Yeah, it is a psychic type. But I just feel like it doesn't really have much going for it. I don't know if that's just me, but that's just how I feel. Absol, obviously psychic type immunity, is almost in every single game leading up from Hoenn, the only one being black and white, obviously. Very diverse move pool. Pressure can be very nice sometimes. Psychic immunity obviously hits very hard and has okay speed. It could probably be a little bit faster considering it doesn't really have much defense, but yeah, still really, really good. Glalie is actually not that good. I'm tempted to put it here as well. Obviously it has freeze dry, so you're going to be able to use that up against water types, but yeah, no, defense in a Nuzlocke situation, I'd recommend steering clear of Glalie. Wolverine is actually one of our better mons. This is the water type I was talking about when I was mentioning Wailord, I believe. I like to call Wolverine the Hoenn equivalent of Snorlax because you can rest and snore just the same, and you're also getting stab water and ice type moves. Often, for me, Surf and Ice Beam, which are just super, super good moves. So yeah, Wolverine is a Pokemon that is very limited in the fact that it probably won't die. Defenses are very, very good, and special attack is actually very nice as well. Has a little bit of utility as well. Huntail is okay. I'd probably put it about here. I think Gorobis is slightly better because it has a little bit more variety in its moveset. And can heal, whereas Huntail can only switch. I might do that, yeah. Relicanth is... it's okay. It's not the best. But, you know, the Dex is the Dex, man. Love Disc is not as bad as Delcatty because it can heal with Draining Kiss, I believe. So, yeah, Love Disc is not going to be the worst Pokemon that you can get in Hoenn. And then we reach the final stretch. So this is the last few Pokemon. And obviously Salamence is going to be joining our MVPs. Can be quite difficult to get in some games, but I know in Alola you can probably manipulate encounters to get one fairly easily. And yeah, has access to Roost again. Has Intimidate, I want to say. I think it has Intimidate. And yeah, obviously pseudo legendary, ground immunity, more resistances than weaknesses. Stats are insane. So yeah, very, very good mon. Metagross, on the other hand, isn't an MVP, but it is a very, very good mon. Steel typing. Yeah, I'll put Metagross here. It's in a lot of games, but you're just unlikely to get one, really. Obviously, defensively, it's an absolute monster. And even offensively, it's pretty good. Just lacks a little bit of speed, probably. But yeah, apart from that, very, very good mon. Reggie Rock is actually going to be a mainstay, but it's going to go right at the bottom. Has access to healing with Drain Punch, I believe. And then obviously Stealth Rocks and things like that. But in all the games that you can actually get it in, I'm pretty sure it's 100% encounter rate. Because you can choose to go and get the static if that's how you want to do it. For me personally, out of the three, I would always use Regice. But in a hardcore situation, I might even be tempted to do that because it just doesn't have the move set, doesn't have the weakness to resistance ratio. Obviously, is very, very good specially. But I think switching is a bit more important than that, to be honest. Registeel was sort of like the in-between of Reggie Rock and Regice. Doesn't have access to healing, which is a little unfortunate. But defensively, it's an absolute monster. Probably not as good as Metagross. Probably not as good as Whiscash, I might say. No, probably better than Whiscash. But I think Intimidate is a lot more vital than having Registeel on your team. Latias and Latios are essentially exactly the same. And they both rock in to this category of fillers. They do not have access to switching. So I think they both just go in ahead of Regice. And I prefer Latias, so I'm going to put Latias first. Kyogre is obviously our last MVP. Drizzle, Rain Team. Stats are absolutely mental. Very diverse move pool as well. Yeah, defensively and offensively amazing. You're not going to get much better Pokemon than Kyogre, if I'm being real. And obviously 100% encounter rate in the only game you can get it. So Groudon doesn't quite make the MVP cut, but obviously is in contention. Yeah, similar to Kyogre, but just Drought doesn't quite have the same impact because when it's Primal Groudon, it's a little bit different because obviously that becomes a Ground Fire, but then obviously that gives it a little bit more weaknesses as well, but then obviously that changes to Desolate Land instead of Drought as well, which kind of makes it even better than it normally is as well. So yeah, it doesn't quite make the MVP list, but is definitely one of the ones which could have done. Rayquaza, surprisingly, is more towards this end. Realistically, just a better Altaria, if we're being real. Jirachi is actually one which, if you could get it in most of the games, probably would be an MVP. However, you can't get in any game. And whilst its ability is very, very good, it therefore has to go into this category. And I think it has to go, does have access to switching, so we'll put you there. Serene Grace, I think, isn't it? So go on, you can go top of fillers. How about that, Jirachi? And then this could come as a surprise, but Deoxys, for me, is going at the top of backups. Doesn't really do anything. And in actual fact, I think you do take those two mons over Deoxys. I really do think you do. Yeah, anyway, that is our Hoenn Nuzlocke usability list for any sort of hardcore Nuzlockes, whether that be Hoenn or Galar, whatever. Obviously, this is before Scarlet and Violet, so it's not including any of that. So Scarlet and Violet may change some of the positions based on what Pokemon are available and potential moveset changes, base stat total changes. But yeah, obviously you can see some of the Pokemon that we use as well. Potentially have a little bit of bias in some of what we're doing, but yeah, this is the Hoenn one. The Platinum series is finished, so we will be doing the Platinum one as soon as we've finished that on the channel. But as always, I hope you guys have enjoyed this tier list. If you want to go check out the Kanto and Johto ones, they will be in the playlist as well. Just scroll through. And yeah, I will see you guys in the Sinnoh one after we have done the Platinum Hardcore Generation Lock. Until next time, peace.